It's late summer and I'm in this really beautiful pine tree woodland, and I'll offer you some tips about how to photograph this place in a moment like this. Hey everyone, my name is Toma, Photo Tom here on YouTube, and this channel is all about landscape photography. So if you're interested in this kind of topics, make sure to subscribe. Also, don't forget about my landscape photography ebook, which is called The Thought Process and the Aesthetics of Outdoor Photography, where I present my idea and my concept about landscape photography in case studies. So just use the link in the description of this video and you'll have all the details. Now let's go and photograph this really beautiful woodland. The first photo that I took is this one over here, and the tip that I have for you in this situation is to block the sun with with some trunks, with some trees. The reason for doing that is because the trees inside the woodland are really dark and you will not be able to properly expose in only one shot. Yes, you can do an HDR image, but the sun really explodes. It's light, it's really powerful. It's early in the morning, as you can see, but the light of the sun would fill the frame too much. I mean, I just want to see the effect of that light on the surface of the forest, on the trees, and that's why I'm covering the actual sun with some trees. The second tip that I have for you is to explore the same location from different angles. The first photo was shot in a landscape format. Now I'm doing a portrait framing. It helps a lot if you challenge yourself to try and get something that is completely different in the same location. Now let's talk about the settings for this place. I'm at ISO 100, f11 and 0.3 seconds. The trunks of the trees are really dark, but I made sure by checking the histogram that I don't have complete blacks or areas that are overexposed. So in post, I would probably increase the shadows on the trees and accentuate the light. The humidity during the night was pretty high, and because of that, here comes tip number 3. Watch out for those kind of moments. And when you have a clear sunrise with no clouds in the sky, you will probably get sun rays in the forest almost any time. So that's why I'm here, and this is what I'm searching for right now. I want to show you a photo with some sun rays in it, but I just need to find the perfect placement of my person. I'm just to find really quickly a place where there's a really beautiful ray of light coming down from there. And I also used the trees to make a frame inside the frame. And this is tip number 4. When you're photographing the woodland, it's a good thing to identify the subject. Okay, this is an absolute must. Without a point of focus, you can't have an interesting photo, but you need some elements that would frame that. And tip number 4 would be to try and identify those trees that can guard your subject. Those are the elements that will guide the attention of the viewer into the shot. This is one of the things that I'm talking a lot in my ebook, and especially in those case studies. I have a chapter about the choosing of the subject, and then I have a second chapter about composition. But the third chapter is about, it presents 50 case studies, 50 photos of mine where I discuss settings, focal length used, gear, and the reason that stands behind choosing a certain composition and doing a certain type of editing. And this kind of elements, stop elements, I talk a lot about them because whenever you have the opportunity to focus the attention of the viewer, you just need to do it, because it's a way to create a much more powerful and interesting photo. I saw a pond, a small pond, really small pond actually, in that direction. But before we go there and share with you tip number 6, I'm going to share with you tip number 5, and that is to, let me just show you this kind of framing. So tip number 5 is something that you heard a lot when I'm photographing the woodland, and that is to find areas of darkness, place yourself in areas of darkness, and identify also a continuity to that area of darkness in light. So you're standing in places where the sun doesn't shine, and you have a clearance in the forest in the background where the sun is getting in, and this creates contrast, and this looks really well, or at least in my opinion looks really well. Number 6, search for places like this. A small pond can offer an interesting way to photograph the woodland by doing a reflection. Now, I did this photo. I have some rays over there in the background coming through the trees, so I will hurry to take another photo over there. Let's see how I frame it. Tip number 7, have a polarizer with you. Inside the forest, it's really important for you to have a polarizer. Without a polarizer, the images look, I don't know, they don't look really good. You need to get rid of that glare from the leaves, or in this case from these pine trees. The colors are richer, the contrast is better. The sun rays, it depends. Sometimes when you polarize, you don't see them that very well. So in some occasions, I do two exposures, one polarized and one not polarized. And then I decide after when I'm seeing the photo on a bigger screen, what I'm going to do and what photo I'm going to choose. But it's important to have a polarizer because the forest looks a lot better with it. For this situation, I decided to have these trees in the lower right corner of the image, and then the rays the rays of light hit these trees. The settings are ISO 100, f11 0.6 seconds. Let me see. Let me show you. So that's how the photo looks. Tip number 8 would be to look out for the unexpected. And right now, let me show you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this really beautiful and picturesque place where there are those houses and you have the morning fog. Now, as you can see, I frame it having a little bit of darkness at the bottom. And that's really important because just like the trees that are guarding the trail, the darkness guards the light and helps the viewer concentrate. If you follow my vlogs regularly, you probably notice that this is not the forest where I usually photograph in. I'm in a different place. I had a workshop over here. The workshop is over. We stayed by tent. We were camping. It was pretty cold, but the forest looks really great now. I decided that I will explore the place. I'm talking slow right now because there are some tourists over here and they're probably still sleeping. So let's let's move on to another location. I don't want to disturb some people. Tip number 9. When the sun is getting really high in the sky, don't photograph outside the forest. It will not be an interesting photo. Search for places where you have differences in shadows and light. They look much better. These rays of light are everywhere in the forest this morning. It was a lovely surprise. I was not expecting this because yesterday was pretty sunny, but the night was pretty cold. So in that combination, my thought was that maybe there's a chance to see something interesting in the forest, and I was right. Now in this situation, I position in a way that I'm having the rays of light. Let's see if I can show something here. I'm having the rays of light coming from that tree, but I also loved those ferns in the lower right side of the photo. I just found this small stream of water, and from this comes tip number 10. So tip number 10, look for tip number 10. Look for these small streams of water. I mean, usually almost every forest has one, especially if it's in the mountains. Now, what you need to look for is an S shape, an S curve, the place where the small water stream turns, and also look for the place where the light hits. And when you put all those things, when you combine all those things, when you put them together, you get a really beautiful and picturesque photo like this one. These were the 10 tips I had for you for photographing this woodland in late summer. I hope you find it interesting. If you do, please share this video with your friends, and don't forget my ebook. And what else? Until next time, keep on photographing. It's the only way to get better. Thanks for watching again. Bye bye.